There is a quiet torture that most people live with every single day. It's not poverty, it's not failure, it's not even loss. It's the desperate attempt to control what was never meant to be controlled. You try to control how people see you. You try to control the outcome of every decision. You try to control time, the future uncertainty. And when life refuses to obey your plans, anxiety rises like a storm inside your chest. But here is the truth you've been avoiding. You cannot control life. And the moment you accept that is the moment you finally become free. Tonight, we're going to explore 5 truths that will release you from the prison of worry and return you to your power. From the moment you were young, you were handed a silent promise: if you do everything right, life will reward you accordingly. Study hard and you will succeed. Be kind and you will be loved. Plan carefully and nothing will fall apart. This belief settles deep into the unconscious, shaping how you move through the world. It becomes your shield against chaos. It whispers that you are safe, so long as you are careful enough, disciplined enough, intelligent enough. But life has a way of dismantling that illusion. You can rehearse for hours before an interview, answer every question flawlessly in your mind, visualize the handshake at the end, and still receive an email that begins with, "We regret to inform you." You can give your heart to someone with loyalty and devotion, believing that love, if pure enough, guarantees permanence, only to watch them walk away. You can exercise, eat well, follow every medical recommendation, and still hear a diagnosis that shakes the foundation of your certainty. When these moments arrive, something inside you fractures, not just because of the event itself, but because your hidden contract with life has been broken. You did everything right. So why didn't life obey? Psychologists refer to this as the illusion of control. Ellen Langer's research revealed that human beings consistently overestimate their influence over random events. We cling to rituals, strategies, and superstitions, believing they tip the scale of fate in our favor. The illusion soothes us temporarily. It gives us the feeling that we are steering the ship. But beneath that comfort lies fragility. Because the moment reality refuses to cooperate, anxiety floods in. The mind panics when its fantasy of control collapses. And this is where worry is born. Worry is not the child of uncertainty. Uncertainty has always existed. It is woven into the fabric of existence. Worry is born from resistance to uncertainty. It is the ego's protest against not being in charge. It is the internal voice shouting, "This is not how it was supposed to happen." You see it in the student who obsesses over every possible exam question, not because preparation is wrong, but because beneath the preparation is fear of unpredictability. You see it in the parent who tries to micromanage every aspect of a child's life, hoping to eliminate all risk. You see it in yourself when you replay conversations at night, searching for the one sentence you could have said differently to secure a better outcome. But reality does not bend to obsession. Consider the farmer. He wakes before sunrise. He plants the seeds with care. He waters the soil. He removes the weeds that threaten growth. He does everything within his power. Yet he does not stand in the field screaming at the sky for rain. He does not attempt to bargain with the sun. He understands something fundamental. Effort belongs to him, outcome does not. If he tried to control the weather, he would lose his sanity. And yet, in your own life, you attempt to control the emotional weather of others. You try to ensure no one misunderstands you, no one rejects you, no opportunity slips away. You attempt to forecast every possible storm, believing that vigilance equals safety. But the more you try to dominate what lies beyond your reach, the more powerless you feel. Because deep down, you know you cannot command the rain. There is a quiet liberation in recognizing this boundary. You control effort. You control the seeds you plant, the skills you develop, the honesty you bring, the courage you summon. But you do not control how the world responds. And when you confuse the two, anxiety becomes inevitable. Separating effort from outcome is not resignation. It is maturity. It is the realization that your responsibility ends where reality begins. You show up fully. You act with integrity. You prepare with diligence, and then you release. When you stop demanding certainty from life, you stop living in constant tension. Your mind softens, your breath deepens. You begin to move with existence instead of fighting it. Worry begins to dissolve not because the world becomes predictable, but because you no longer require it to be. And in that surrender, something stronger than control emerges, trust in your own capacity to respond to whatever unfolds. There is a strange comfort in worry. It tricks you into believing you are being responsible. It whispers that by thinking through every worst-case scenario, you are protecting yourself from pain. You sit in your room at night replaying possibilities, forecasting disasters, imagining conversations that haven't happened yet. And in those moments, it feels as though you are working. It feels as though you are preparing. But look closely at what is actually happening. You are not preparing. You are rehearsing fear. The mind does not distinguish well between imagination and reality. When you vividly picture failure, rejection, humiliation, your body responds as if those events are already unfolding. Your heart rate shifts, your muscles tense. Stress hormones begin to rise. You are exhausting yourself over shadows. Research published in Behavior Research and Therapy revealed something humbling. Approximately 85% of what people worry about never happens. And of the small percentage that does occur, most individuals reported coping far better than they expected. Think about that. The overwhelming majority of your mental suffering is invested in futures that never arrive. Yet the mind insists on continuing the ritual. Why? Because worry creates the illusion of control. It feels active. It feels safer than surrendering to uncertainty. If you are worrying, you are at least doing something. But what you are doing is draining your inner resources. You are spending emotional currency on imaginary battles while neglecting the present moment where real action could occur. Imagine a student preparing for an important exam. Instead of calmly reviewing material, he lies awake at night envisioning failure. He imagines his name missing from the pass list. He imagines the disappointment in his parents' eyes. He imagines friends whispering about his incompetence. The catastrophe grows larger in his mind with each passing hour. But notice what is missing: study, clarity, focused effort. His worry feels like preparation, but it steals the very energy he needs to succeed. By the time he opens his textbook, his mind is already fatigued. Fear has consumed the space where concentration should live. Worry does not prepare you for the future. It robs you of the present. And the present is the only place where power exists. There is a profound difference between planning and worrying, though they often disguise themselves as one another. Planning is grounded. It is practical. It asks a simple question: what action can I take right now? It leads to steps, however small. It creates movement. Planning might mean scheduling study hours, updating your resume, having an honest conversation, saving money, seeking advice. Worry, on the other hand, asks a very different question: what if everything goes wrong? It spirals into endless hypothetical scenarios without ever landing on a clear action. It loops, it magnifies, it dramatizes, and eventually it paralyzes. Planning strengthens you. Worry weakens you. Planning moves you forward. Worry keeps you frozen in imagined futures. The tragedy is that many people mistake paralysis for caution. They believe their constant mental rehearsal of disaster makes them wise. But wisdom is not fear amplified. It is clarity applied. It is the ability to distinguish between what requires action and what requires acceptance. When you catch yourself spiraling into mental chaos, pause. Do not fight the thought aggressively, simply observe it. Then ask one honest question: is this thought helping me act or just helping me panic? If the thought leads to a concrete step, take it. Make the call. Write the plan. Open the book. Send the email. But if the thought leads nowhere, if it only tightens your chest and clouds your mind, then it is noise, and noise does not deserve authority over your peace. Your mind is a powerful instrument, but when left undisciplined, it becomes a generator of unnecessary suffering. You are not obligated to follow every anxious thought to its dramatic conclusion. You are allowed to step back. You are allowed to redirect your focus. You are allowed to choose action over agitation. Most of what you fear will never happen. And what does happen will reveal strength you have not yet discovered. Worry promises protection but delivers exhaustion. Action, even imperfect action, builds confidence. And confidence dissolves anxiety more effectively than 1,000 catastrophic fantasies ever could. The next time worry disguises itself as responsibility, see through it. Choose movement. Choose clarity. Choose presence, because your peace is too valuable to be ruled by imaginary storms. The human mind longs for certainty the way a child longs for a parent's hand in the dark. It wants guarantees. It wants promises. It wants to know that if it steps forward, the ground will not collapse beneath it. Safety feels like survival. Predictability feels like peace. So you build routines, plans, expectations, small psychological shelters against the vast unknown. But life has never agreed to those terms. Look closely at the moments that shaped you most. Your first job did not come with certainty. You walked into unfamiliar rooms, unsure of how you would be judged, unsure if you were truly capable. Moving to a new city carried no guarantees. You did not know who you would meet, whether you would belong, whether loneliness would visit you at night. Starting a relationship required vulnerability without assurance. Ending one required stepping into an empty future without clarity. None of those moments offered safety. Yet each one transformed you. Uncertainty is not the enemy of growth, it is its birthplace. When you stand at the edge of something unknown, your old identity begins to tremble. The version of you that depends on comfort feels threatened. But something deeper within you recognizes the invitation, because identity does not evolve in controlled environments. It evolves in tension, in risk, in the willingness to step beyond the familiar. Consider the entrepreneur who leaves a stable job to build something new. Statistics often show that many startups fail within the first 5 years. The risk is real. The possibility of loss is real. Yet innovation only exists because someone chose to embrace that uncertainty instead of running from it. Every technological breakthrough, every artistic movement, every bold idea that reshaped society was born in an atmosphere of unpredictability. If those individuals had demanded guarantees before acting, nothing new would exist. The same truth applies to your inner life. If you attempt to eliminate uncertainty completely, you also eliminate possibility. You create a life that is safe but stagnant, predictable but unfulfilled. You remain in situations that no longer challenge you because at least they are familiar. You avoid difficult conversations because the outcome cannot be controlled. You silence dreams because they come without assurances, but stagnation slowly erodes the soul. Instead of asking, "How do I avoid uncertainty?" ask a more powerful question. Who am I becoming through this uncertainty? This shift changes everything. It moves your focus away from external outcomes and toward internal evolution. The external world may remain unpredictable, but your character strengthens with every challenge you face consciously. Think of a storm. When dark clouds gather, your first instinct may be to seek shelter, and sometimes that is wise. But metaphorically, the storms in your life are not always there to destroy you. They arrive to expose hidden weaknesses and awaken dormant strength. They force you to adapt. They demand creativity. They push you beyond the limits you once believed were fixed. Without storms, trees do not grow deep roots. Without resistance, muscles do not strengthen. Without uncertainty, courage has no reason to exist. You may look back on your life and realize that the most painful transitions were also the most formative. The job you did not get forced you to develop new skills. The heartbreak you endured revealed parts of yourself you had ignored. The unexpected setback redirected you toward a path better aligned with who you truly are. Uncertainty strips away illusions. It confronts you with yourself, and in that confrontation, resilience is born. Resilience is not the absence of difficulty. It is the capacity to endure difficulty without losing your center. It is built each time you step into the unknown and survive. Each unpredictable moment you navigate successfully sends a message to your unconscious: I can handle this. Over time, that message becomes confidence, not the loud arrogance of control, but the quiet assurance of inner stability. You begin to understand that stability does not come from controlling circumstances. It comes from strengthening your response to them. The more you accept unpredictability, the less it intimidates you. You stop seeing uncertainty as a threat and start recognizing it as a teacher. It teaches patience when outcomes are delayed. It teaches humility when plans fail. It teaches courage when fear arises. It teaches adaptability when conditions shift unexpectedly. And slowly your relationship with life changes. Instead of resisting change, you cooperate with it. Instead of demanding guarantees, you cultivate resilience. Instead of fearing the unknown, you approach it with curiosity, because you realize something profound: the ground may not always be stable beneath your feet, but you are becoming stable within yourself, and that inner stability is stronger than any external certainty life could ever offer. If you cannot control life, then what remains in your hands? What is left when you strip away the illusion that you can command outcomes, orchestrate every reaction, or prevent every disappointment? Three things remain, and they are enough. You control your actions. You control your attitude. You control your interpretation. Everything else is negotiation with reality. Most of your anxiety comes from trying to manage what was never yours to manage. You try to control traffic when you are already late. You try to control how someone perceives you after a conversation has ended. You try to control whether someone chooses you, loves you, approves of you. But these lie outside your territory, and when you fight for territory that does not belong to you, you feel powerless. Power returns the moment you step back into your own domain. You cannot control traffic, but you can control whether you let frustration poison your morning or whether you use those minutes to breathe, reflect, or listen to something that strengthens your mind. You cannot control someone's opinion of you, but you can control whether you bend your identity to earn approval or stand rooted in who you are. You cannot control rejection, but you can control whether rejection becomes your identity or your motivation. This is not motivational fantasy. It is psychological truth. Consider Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust. In conditions where every external freedom was stripped away, where hunger, brutality, and death surrounded him, he discovered something that cannot be imprisoned. He observed that even when everything else is taken, one freedom remains: the freedom to choose your attitude toward your circumstances. That inner choice determined who psychologically survived and who collapsed under despair. If a human being can find freedom in a concentration camp, then surely you can find it in traffic, in criticism, in heartbreak. The problem is not that you lack control. The problem is that you are looking for it in the wrong place. When something painful happens, the instinctive question is, why is this happening to me? That question places you in the center of injustice. It frames you as a passive recipient of chaos. It keeps you stuck in resistance. But there is another question available to you, one that shifts the entire structure of your psyche. How will I meet this moment? That question changes everything. It pulls you from victimhood into agency. It forces you to examine your response rather than the event. And in that shift, you reclaim your strength. Your actions are the first layer of control. Even small actions matter. When you feel overwhelmed, you may not control the storm, but you can control whether you take the next step. You can send the email. You can apply for the job. You can go to the gym. You can apologize. You can try again. Action breaks paralysis. It reminds your nervous system that you are not frozen. Your attitude is the second layer. Attitude is not denial of pain. It is the lens through which you process it. Two people can face identical setbacks. One sees humiliation and defeat. The other sees instruction and redirection. The external event is the same. The internal framing is different, and that difference shapes their future. Your interpretation is the third layer, and perhaps the most powerful. Interpretation determines meaning, and meaning determines emotional impact. If you interpret failure as proof that you are incapable, your confidence collapses. If you interpret failure as evidence that you are stretching beyond your comfort zone, resilience grows. The event has not changed. The story has. Much of your suffering does not come from what happens. It comes from the meaning you assign to what happens. When you consciously choose your interpretation, you become the author of your inner narrative. You stop allowing unconscious fears to write it for you. You begin to ask, what else could this mean? What lesson is hidden here? What strength is being developed? This does not make life painless, but it makes you powerful. When you shift your focus from controlling events to mastering your response, anxiety loses its grip. You stop chasing certainty and start cultivating character. You understand that life will remain unpredictable, but your reaction does not have to be. That realization is liberating, because the world may remain chaotic, people may remain inconsistent, outcomes may remain uncertain, but you, your actions, your attitude, your interpretation become stable ground. And from that ground, you no longer live as someone waiting for life to behave. You live as someone prepared to meet whatever comes. That is the shift. That is the power. That is the quiet transformation from a victim of chaos into a conscious participant in growth. The word surrender unsettles the ego. It feels like defeat. It feels like waving a white flag in the middle of battle and admitting that you have lost. From childhood, you are conditioned to fight, to resist, to push harder. You are told that strength means dominance, that resilience means never bending, that power means forcing reality to obey your will. But there is a deeper strength that few people understand. Surrender is not passivity. It is not weakness. It is not the collapse of effort. Surrender is the acceptance of reality without resistance. It is the moment you stop arguing with what already is. Imagine yourself caught in a powerful river current. Panic surges. Your instinct is to fight against the water with all your strength. You thrash wildly, desperate to regain control. But the harder you fight blindly, the faster you exhaust yourself. Your muscles burn, your breath shortens. Fear multiplies. Now imagine something different. Instead of fighting the current in chaos, you pause. You float. You align your body with the flow. You conserve energy. You move strategically rather than desperately. The river may still be strong, but you are no longer wasting yourself in resistance. Life works the same way. So much of your suffering does not come from events themselves. It comes from your refusal to accept them. The breakup happens, but your mind insists, this shouldn't be happening. The opportunity disappears, but you replay it endlessly, searching for a way to undo what is already done. The future becomes uncertain, and you demand guarantees that do not exist. Resistance drains you. Surrender restores you. To surrender does not mean you approve of what happened. It does not mean you stop caring. It means you recognize reality as it stands. You accept the breakup. You accept the missed opportunity. You accept the unpredictability of life. And in that acceptance, something powerful begins to unfold: clarity. When you stop fighting what already exists, your mind becomes quiet enough to think clearly. Instead of asking, "How do I undo this?" you begin asking, "What now?" That shift moves you from obsession to adaptation. Science even confirms what wisdom has long suggested. Studies in mindfulness-based stress reduction show that acceptance reduces stress hormones and improves emotional regulation. When you stop arguing internally with reality, your nervous system settles. Your body no longer remains in constant fight or flight mode. You become capable of thoughtful response instead of emotional reaction. Think about a time you resisted something painful. Perhaps a job ended unexpectedly. For weeks or months, you replayed the injustice. You felt anger, confusion, betrayal. And during that time, your energy was trapped in the past. But the moment you finally said, "This is what happened," something shifted. Not because the situation changed, but because you did. Acceptance freed mental space. From that space, new ideas appeared. New directions became visible. Possibilities you could not see before slowly revealed themselves. The energy once consumed by resistance became available for growth. Surrender is not quitting. Quitting is walking away from effort because you believe you are incapable. Surrender is trusting that you are capable of facing reality without collapsing. It is trusting that even if the path changes, you can walk it. It is trusting that your identity is not destroyed by external shifts. The ego fears surrender because it thrives on control. It wants to dominate circumstances. It wants life to align perfectly with expectation. But life is not a machine to be programmed. It is a living process, unpredictable and dynamic. When you surrender, you are not stepping out of life. You are stepping into it fully. You are saying, I cannot control everything, but I can meet whatever comes. That is strength. There is quiet courage in saying, this hurts, and I accept it. There is maturity in acknowledging, this did not go as planned, and I will adapt. There is wisdom in recognizing, I cannot rewrite the past, but I can shape my response. When you stop arguing with reality, you stop fragmenting yourself. You no longer split your energy between what is and what you wish were. You gather yourself. You become whole again. And from wholeness, resilience grows naturally. The current of life will continue to move. Storms will come. Plans will shift. People will change. But if you learn the art of surrender, not as defeat, but as conscious acceptance, you will discover an unshakable center within yourself. Because surrender is not the loss of power. It is the realization that your true power was never in controlling the river, but in trusting your ability to swim. You cannot control life. You cannot command time. You cannot script every outcome. You cannot protect yourself from every possibility. But you can control your effort. You can control your mindset. You can control your courage. Worry is the mind's attempt to control the uncontrollable. Peace is the decision to release that attempt. Life was never meant to be mastered like a machine. It was meant to be experienced like a journey. And when you stop trying to grip the steering wheel of the universe, you finally learn how to drive your own soul. Stop worrying, not because life is predictable, but because you are stronger than uncertainty, and that is enough.